Hello! How can we change the financial lives of 300 people or 7 billion people through TEDx in 15 minutes? I thought about it and concluded that in 5 seconds my life changed. So, why not change the lives of so many people in 15 minutes? Then I thought of a word so small, 2 letters long, that can change anyone's life. Many people believe that this word has a negative connotation, but I believe it's the opposite. That word is no. It's been kind of forgotten lately, hasn't it, the word no? I've noticed that many parents have difficulty using the word no. And I don't understand why. So, today I'm here to tell you how no changed my life, how no brought me here today, and the transformative power of no. Folks, no is power. It all started when I was about 6 years old. My parents were never rich, never had financial education. And in school, there's always that little group, you know, like, oh, that's the rich one, that's this, that's that. And there was the rich girl in my group. One day, the rich girl came to us and said, "My dad set up a savings account for us to buy a car for me when I turn 18. That hit my brain like a bolt of lightning. I've always been a bit dreamer, so at that exact moment, I pictured myself in my convertible car, cruising through the streets of Sao Paulo. I imagined myself so free with that car at 18 years old. I got home, sat down with my parents, and then asked the fateful question, do I have a savings account? I can imagine today, my dad at that time, facing me, knowing the answer that would come next. You can probably guess what it was. No. Of course not. No, I didn't have a savings account. And at that moment, I started to think. I wanted so much to buy that car, which in the end wasn't just a financial matter, it wasn't just about money. That car meant freedom. It was like the ultimate realization of success at 18. I said, well, I don't have money. I immediately discovered that savings meant money. And occasionally I'd get 2 reais for lunch. Because my dad didn't even give me that regularly, it was sometimes 2 reais. I said, well, 2 reais. I never thought of money like that, like a 2 real bill. I imagined those 2 reais, or 10 reais, whatever it was, as a piece of my car. And then began that dilemma early in childhood, 2 reais or a snack from the cafeteria? Luckily, I thought more about my car. And so, I became the family piggy bank. 2 reais at a time. Very early on, I started to develop this mentality of projection. I did calculations. How much would I have in a year, in 2 years? Because after all, I realized that what I had the most of was time, and that time related to money, even if for some it seemed little, over time it would become a fortune. And then, I started to think about what car I would be able to buy if I kept up my discipline of saving a little money. And then, I found out that I could buy a buggy. Yes, I was going to have my convertible car. At that time, my hair was already a bit straighter. I learned by myself, alone, to straighten my hair, because after all, when you go to the hairdresser to get a blowout, what do you spend? Money. And by the way, that was the first big investment I managed to make. I convinced my dad to buy a brush and a hair dryer. And this way I made a deal with him. Every time I do my own hair, you give me 10 reais, because I'm going to save you 30 reais at the beauty salon. Folks, learn this, OPM, others people money. Simple as that. Anyway, I discovered that my no meant my car. That no meant enough money to buy my car at 18 years old. The thing is, I didn't need to buy the car. At 18, I found out that my godmother had set up a letter of credit for me from a consortium. My godmother, for some reason I still don't know to this day, is addicted to consortiums. And she set up a consortium when I was like 10 years old and was awarded when I was 18, it's just luck. I bought my car, it didn't have power windows, it didn't have power locks, it didn't have a rear wiper, it didn't have a rear defogger, it didn't have a radio, but it was my car. With the money I had saved all that time, I made my first investment and never stopped. From the moment I started working, I realized that I had a very easy time saving my money and doing things that were important to me. I always had very clear goals for the future and never stopped living in the present. And then, over time, I started to feel like an extraterrestrial, you know, folks? People looked at me strangely, like, what? You bought your apartment in cash at 24 without stealing? Without asking your dad? Oh, okay, what do you mean? And they thought I was very strange, that there was something strange about that story. And I started to feel like a stranger in the nest, like as alone as I am on this stage. And that started to bother me a lot, because I thought, guys, why? Why do people, even knowing that they have to spend less than they earn, continue to make these absurd mistakes and miss out on what's most important, to have things that don't matter? I reached that conclusion when I hired my cleaning lady. I was like 24 years old, needed someone to take care of the house. One day she told me, "Nathalia, look, it's very difficult to pay the bills." I said, "But why?" "I just bought a pair of sneakers for my daughter, paid 700 Brazilian reals. I paid her 600 Brazilian reals." I said, "What leads a person to spend more than their salary on a single item?" Anyway, I looked for answers, and guess what? I found out. It was a cathartic moment, because I looked for these answers in economic psychology. And everything has an explanation within our brains. What's that explanation? Here's the thing, our brain likes everything that's immediate. What's now, what gives pleasure now? I love this. I like what's simple, what doesn't make me think too much, and preferably happens today. And one thing that catches on, especially regarding money, humans like to have the illusion that everything is fine. Look there, the tsunami coming. Oh, when it gets here it'll just be a little wave. Nothing's going to happen, everything will be fine. And then the tsunami comes, gets you, and you die. That's how it happens. It's the same with financial life. And what does the human being not like? They don't like making decisions. Imagine, a candy now or 3 in the future. Give me that drug that's now, forget the future, what's that? We don't like to think long term, it creates a huge mess in our brains. And we also don't like not having and, especially, not belonging. Ever heard of that herd behavior? That when the bull goes, everyone goes, and I don't know what. People like to all go the same way. Even if the destination is the cliff. Why? I don't know, the brain explains. Freud explained it and it's all there, it's all explained. Alright, I investigated the human mind and such, and discovered all of this. Great, what do I do with this information? What good does it do me to know how my brain mechanisms work? Is there no way to change this? So I looked for these other answers. And guess what? I discovered the secret formula for us to change our key. To remove everything that was put in our heads between 0 and 12 years old, when we form all of our beliefs, all of our cultures related to money. Do you want to know how we change all of this? This is the key to success. I discovered that what made me so different from the people around me was my early ability to set goals, to have targets, to have clear objectives. And more than that, my inner strength, which we all have, which I call T strength. This isn't just any T, folks, you can see, it's a big T, which means passion, teseo in Portuguese. And passion, when I say passion, has nothing to do with sexual connotation. Passion is what moves you, what gets you out of bed, what gets you out of the daily procrastination. If you have goals but don't have a passion for what you're doing, if you don't do it with a lot of desire, it won't work, it won't matter. And that's the great formula for success. And all of this can be resolved in a very simple scheme like this one. When you have goals, you know what your life purposes are. When you have purposes, your goals become clearer. You have an easier time seeing your priorities, what really matters to you. When you know what really matters to you, you spend less time and less money on what's not important. Folks, it's so simple. Ah, what a thing, it's so easy to get rich, folks. What happens is, when you discover this and spend less time and less money on what's not important, you have money left over. And if you know how to invest and take care of your money, you get rich. It's as simple as that. Well, having said all that, it's been almost 20 years since my first no. Until I got to my second big no. I was a reporter for Read Record, a Brazilian TV channel, and I fulfilled my big dream, because I had that goal of being a presenter and such. Then I thought, wow, people need to know this. All this that I discovered studying passionately, with a lot of passion. I need to change people's lives. I called my boss and said, "Boss, here's the deal. We're going to change people's lives. We're going to use this box called television to do it, and we're going to do a reality show where I, who am very good at changing people's lives, teach people to get rich. I'll take desperate, indebted people and turn them into savers in 4 weeks." He said, "Wow, that's amazing. Put it down on paper, Nathalia, you're a genius." All right, I put it all down on paper. 2 weeks later, guess what happened? The second big no of my life. And it wasn't small. It was a very big no. Because not only did he say, "No, Nathalia, we're not doing it," but also, "No, Nathalia, you're not going to do it, someone else is going to do your idea, because it's very good." And at that moment, with that no in front of me, and that's the power of no. No is revolutionary, I said. Great, excellent. Let's go find my yes. That's when I created the blog called Me Poop, Save Me, where the idea was to use entertainment and humor to transform people's lives in a way that they didn't even realize they were learning, like brainwashing. This blog started to have some success because within finance it's very difficult to speak and break these paradigms in a simple way. Last year I started a YouTube channel where I used all of my knowledge, combined with my incredible technique of speaking to the camera. And then the channel started to gain some relevance. Last December, I received an offer to be sponsored by a large company, and I finally quit Read Record to fulfill my dream, which is to change people's lives through financial entertainment. And that's what came out of all of this. From a no, so, I would like to leave this presentation with a question for you to think about today. What no are you going to live by today? Think about it. Thank you.